Welcome back from an ad break. So now we're just going to do a quick recap of what we went through throughout the entire lesson. So we said we were going to be looking at the neutralization and pH. So within that, we looked at neutralization reactions. We also looked at the acid-base reactions and what they both entail and what is the relationship between them, the acid-base reactions and the neutralization reaction. Furthermore, we also used words such as acid, base, neutral substance, and pH value to better explain the reaction of an acid and a base, and also not forgetting the neutralization reaction. So the descriptions of each of these substances or the descriptions of each of these terms are given here. That an acid is a substance that tastes sour and feels rough on one's finger, whereas a base is a substance that tastes bitter and feels slippery on one's finger as well. Whereas a neutral substance, that's now a substance that is neither acidic or basic. It's somewhere in the middle with a pH of 7. And then lastly, that the pH value, it is now used, it's a measure of acidity or basicity of the substance. So we're using the pH value to measure the acidity or the basicity of a substance by the assistance or by the help of a pH scale. Now, what I need you to take away from this lesson is the following things. That number one, reactions between acid and base is called neutralization reaction. So any reaction that deals with an acid and a base, that reaction is going to be called a neutralization reaction. Now, the products of the reaction between an acid and a base is going to be salt and water. So whenever we are reacting an acid and a base, the product will be salt and water. And remember that the pH of the product will be determined by the strength of the acid or the base, or by how much of each of the substances were added initially at the beginning of the reaction. So if we add too much of the acid, the product will be acidic. If we add too much of the base, the product is going to be basic. But if we add the right amount of either one of them, acid and a base, the product is going to be neutral. Now, a neutral substance has a pH of 7. So if a substance is neutral, when we add the right amount of the acid and the base, the product will be a neutral substance. And if it's neutral, it means it has a pH of 7. Then lastly, the pH measures the acidity or the basicity of a substance. So pH is used to measure the acidity or the basicity of a substance. The strength of that particular substance will be determined through the pH scale. That should the pH of a substance be 2, 2 is going to be away from 7 but closer to 0, so it's going to be a strong acid. Should the pH of that substance be 13, for instance, pH is away from 7 but closer to 14, so it's going to be a strong base. Should a substance have a pH just around 7, either 6, just less than 7, being 6 or 5, or just above 7, again being either 8 or 9, those substances are going to be regarded as either weak or strong acid, depending on where they are. To the left-hand side of the pH scale, 5 and 6, that's going to be weak acid. To the right-hand side of the pH scale, like 8 or 9, that's going to be a weak base. So the further away you move from 7, the stronger the substance becomes, either stronger acid or stronger base, depending on where you go. So now, the question that I have for you to close off the lesson is, what do we call substances that can act as both an acid and a base in two different reactions? So one substance, in one reaction it's an acid, in another reaction it's a base. So what do we call such a substance? So until I see you next time with the answer to my question, bye.